The exhibition that we have here at the Whitworth with Forensic Architecture is looking at the way in which states and corporations weaponize the air we breathe. So whether that's tear gas, through air pollution, through the use of herbicides, and it's all brought together through the film, which occupies the central gallery. And I think what's so interesting for us at the Whitworth about that is it really shifts the way in which the art gallery operates as a site for accountability.
Our mandate is to develop new evidentiary techniques for bringing accountability and liability to those who perpetrate violence, the states, the militaries, and the corporations. And in order to bring accountability for them, around them, we need new investigative techniques. We need new methodologies.
The process of working with them has been pretty extraordinary, really, because in a way, when you work with them, you are in a way getting on their bus in terms of supporting them in their continued investigations.
I've established forensic architecture 10 years ago. Forensic architecture emerged out of the Center for Research Architecture, a kind of crazy experimentation of people coming from different backgrounds, different disciplinary backgrounds, coming to think together about the limit of representation, the limit of a certain form of practice and trying to break it. And I think at its best, that's what Goldsmiths does and enabled forensic architecture to grow within it, because they kind of trusted us to give us the space and time to develop that mode of practice.
In the exhibition, you see a range of art techniques that are developed. In the case of forest fires in Indonesia and in West Papua, we use satellites to identify the sources of fire and their location in relation to the boundary in order to bring accountability towards who is setting these fires and if they're intentional or not.
In Louisiana, there is a 85-mile region that spans from the state capital of Baton Rouge to New Orleans called Cancer Alley. So this territory today has become the petrochemical corridor. In December of 2019, the Fensline community activist group Rise St. James and their legal counsel, the Center for Constitutional Rights, announced that 4 cemeteries of historically enslaved people had been identified on property owned by a petrochemical company called Formosa Plastics. So there was a question raised by Rise and by CCR of, okay, if we found these 3 cemeteries, where are the rest? They kind of gave us a call to action. They said it would be amazing if we could develop a predictive method for identifying where these cemeteries might be across the region. What we did was we sourced 300 years of historic maps, aerial photography, as well as property surveys. So we were able to overlay them, to combine them, and actually weave together this sort of field of probability to determine where cemeteries are likely to be located on these hundreds of plantations across this area of focus.
We think about forensic architecture not as a practice, but as a field. So we support and promote anyone that would use our methods. And we're establishing now offices and collaborations in Ramallah, in Paris, in Sao Paulo in Brazil, in Berlin, and in other places. By bringing our kind of work, science meet art, architecture meet law, together and show it in an art context, you also transform what it is that art institutions can do today. What is the role of a museum and public galleries in society today?
What I see for us is more and more intersections, is more and more collaborations, and with that is hopefully new ways of bringing accountability.